This is episode 11 of What's Been Better. This week, we're talking about religion and how it can be a help or a hindrance. Everyone's journey is different, and what works for you only works for you. A heads up to the moms, mother in laws, and anyone else with sensitive ears. We cuss a little, so excuse me, baby. Okay. Alrighty. Well, here we go. Number 11. Before we get started, though, we want to hear from you. Please write us at questions@whatsbeenbetter.com or send us a voice message, even. Right, Lori?
Yeah, please do.
I mean, hell, tell us what's been better for you since you started listening to What's Been Better. Like, we would love to hear that. We would love it.
Yes. Yes. Please do. Please do.
All right. So, episode 11. I feel like this one's about to be like a little drama for a few people.
It might be. It might be. But I hope it's helpful.
Yes.
I hope it's helpful. I'm
Yes.
excited about this being episode 11.
I am too.
Yeah.
I'm just every episode is a bonus to me.
Mhm.
After doing 4,
Mm-hmm.
really honestly, because I thought like we're just gonna do these 4. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I will be here or I won't. And I think after the second episode, I was like, oh, we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
We are seriously doing this. I got a little scared before we made this live, but yeah, I think I knew it was really a thing by the time we got to like episode 6.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
Right. And it's a blessing. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it being a blessing and benefit to others. So it's worth it to me.
Me too. Like I really started out of like kind of having selfish reasons for doing this. And like, this is about me and my journey and me finding peace. And after talking to just my small circle and hearing them like, yeah, this is great, this is good, or their conversations about it,
Mm-hmm.
it's changed how I feel about all of this. And it's made me so appreciative of our banter
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
your gems that you drop. And just, I'm even learning even more in terms of editing that I thought I had it all figured out after doing this for a year previously.
Mm-hmm.
There's still things that I'm like, oh, let me go on YouTube.
Wow.
Let me try this one more time, or I didn't quite tweak that. So it's also building skills that I thought I had figured out.
Right. So you're becoming a pro, honey, in some areas. Look at that.
I'm doing the damn thing that I can't.
Exactly. This is beautiful. So what's been better with you this week? What's been better?
So I got the opportunity to write again.
Okay.
And it was a pretty big writing assignment that got bigger. That was unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a few things about myself.
Okay.
I learned that if I like it, I can write about it. I'm motivated. I could do it. I could just knock it out.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have like real concrete instructions, or if it's not necessarily a topic that I'm into, I'm going to drag my feet.
Ah.
And I'm not going to like it. And I might complain a little bit, and it might take me a lot longer than any other time.
Right.
But in all of that, the information that I learned and was able to share, I was like, oh, this is why I'm doing this.
Right.
It wasn't about the writing at the end.
Okay.
So it became like this powerful, beautiful thing to be able to say, hey, all my friends and family that have kids, did you know that these apps exist? Did you know these bank accounts exist? Did you know these people exist for kids, for families, for whatever? And I felt like so much better after being able to share that, even though I was like, getting to that point.
Right.
So I was able to like flip it on the positive and, make it work and get it done.
Look at you.
Because it was a lot.
I think that's awesome that you got something more out of it than what you thought you would
Yeah,
because you weren't feeling it.
it was a shock. It was a shock. And I literally turned to my husband because he asked me about something else. And I was like, oh, there's an app for that. I just read about it because I was just writing about it. And I literally turned to him and I go, oh, that's why I was writing all this.
Look at that. You see, that's I get excited about that
I'm
because
noticing what I'm
we see
noticing.
one thing, right, right, and they're knowing that there's benefit in so many things that we don't think would be a benefit.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. I didn't. I was very shocked.
wow, that's
Very
lovely.
shocked. So
That is absolutely awesome.
yep. And thank you to the people who heard me complain and heard me triumph and were still encouraging on both ends. I appreciate you. You know who you are. Because you always listen and I appreciate it.
Look
So,
at that.
so what's been better for you?
Well, I got a chance to take a breather and get some R&R, which I really, really needed.
Yes.
And it is a blessing. I encourage everyone to go out to the ocean and at least listen to the ocean. It's such a tranquil, relaxing experience to just listen to the waves as they're coming in and going back out. It's a blessing.
Yes.
And I'm a jazz buff, so I got a chance to listen to some jazz music, which was um, beneficial because I needed a break. So what's been better for me is that I've been able to get some rest that I really, really needed. I needed to relax. I need to just unwind.
Yeah.
And I've been able to do that. So I'm very thankful. So I'm back. Invigorated and rejuvenated and ready to get it going.
I love it. I love it. I after you called me, I was like, why aren't we going? I want to go. I just want
Right.
to it's very hard to go from being like, okay, we take this many trips per year and we're always gone and people always asking us where are we to like I have not left the house in 9 days because I've just been sitting at this computer writing. It's just it's
Mm.
like, oh, but I was living vicariously through you because you went to one of my favorite beaches. So I was very
Yeah.
like, oh, I remember the good times
Yeah.
just a
Well,
few
I
weeks
don't.
ago.
Right. Right. I don't know when I'm gonna go anywhere. Probably next time I'm going somewhere is probably in September. So
Hmm.
that's a few months away. So
Yep. We have
I'm
some
glad I
trips
did it.
planned. We have some things planned. So
Hmm. Oh,
inshallah,
good.
like COVID, just slow down COVID so I can go because
Exactly.
I need a break.
And
But
that's the whole point. And to be
mhm,
able to get that break, it just really resets you. I think that's the thing. It's a reset that needs to take
yes.
place because you run and run and you run yourself out and for
Yeah.
me I needed a break because
And
uh,
knowing
mm-hmm,
and believing and hearing yourself when you say I need a break
mm-hmm,
is I think it's another thing that people don't necessarily always do. We always feel like we can't
mm-hmm,
or we don't have the time or we can't have the money or whatever. And it's like you might want to do it before you can't do it.
exactly,
So
yeah.
just go.
So
Take the
right,
time
right,
off. Just go.
please do. So religion, this is going to be an interesting conversation today.
Yes. I feel like it is. Like this is I guess I'm so hesitant. I'm taking all these deep breaths about it because I know that this is such a touchy subject for some people. And um it's not a touchy subject to me anymore, but I know what that touchiness is.
Well, let's jump into that. Like, so what would you say about it being touchy? Like, what makes it a touchy subject?
I think because it's something that people define themselves by.
Okay.
If you think about the commitment that it takes to follow a certain religion,
Mm-hmm.
it become depending on the religion, it becomes
Mm-hmm.
that person's everything. Like even think if you followed Islam, you've got to
Mm-hmm.
pray 5 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
The commitment that it takes to go through Ramadan,
Right.
you have like, so I just feel like it's a touchy subject because some people, that is a lot of who they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think where for me, where I have the struggle and the fight with it is when it becomes something that they want to put on to
Mm-hmm.
other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's where I have a struggle with it is like, you don't gotta sell me.
I see. I see. So then tell me your story about religion for you and how it became a thing, right? And I would love to share mine as well, right? So but how did religion become a thing for you? Or not, maybe.
So it has not become a thing for me anymore. I have, grew up going to church on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
At one point I was going to like church and Bible study and groups and things like that. And when I got older, it was kind of this going out of the necessity for fellowship or going because other people are going,
Mm-hmm.
not because I necessarily wanted to go.
Right.
When I was a teenager, I loved it. The church that I went to with my family and where I was baptized and um, the friends that I made and things like that, it was wonderful. It was really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I got older, hearing like the behind the scenes and hearing about the money and hearing about all those things, I was like, I don't know. It wasn't that great.
Right.
And then when I got older and moved to Georgia, I did not understand the whole mega church thing
Okay.
and until I was exposed to that. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, this isn't my jam. Not going to
Right.
be able to do this. So
Okay. And what okay.
the
Mm-hmm.
last time I went to church, like committed to going to church, this is the church that I'm going to. I I don't know if I was like a member of the church, but um, I'm not going to name any names. The pastor was the spiritual advisor for a very popular movie producer,
Mm-hmm.
and they did the collection, they did the tithe and the offering, and then they showed a trailer for that person's next movie and then wanted to take up a collection for that also. And I was like, this is the last day that I'm coming to this church. And then I just never went back to church for real.
Okay.
Like
And
I just
so
didn't.
what did you get from that?
Um that it wasn't about a connection to God, that it wasn't about learning necessarily what the word was in the Bible, that it
Mm-hmm.
was how it could be used to manipulate a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Further a
felt,
cause.
yeah, I kind of felt manipulated into that because they
Mm-hmm.
also were like, oh, the Bible says whatever and whatever. And I was like, I'm sure it didn't mean that though. You're using it for that. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's how it's supposed to go.
Right.
So it began this journey of me questioning all religions.
Right.
And then I moved to the Middle East where Islam is it.
Okay.
Um, Christianity exists. Judaism doesn't necessarily have a place in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then I began learning about that, about
Mm-hmm.
Islam. And I was like, so you mean to tell me that they have turned this into the boogeyman in the West and it's not?
Okay. And what did you gather in the East?
I gathered that women were a lot more powerful than they had been made out to be.
Hmm.
I gathered that there was definitely a difference between the religion of Islam and the culture and the people who are Arab.
Okay.
Two totally different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Two, because I was meeting Christian Arabs and I was
Right.
like, this isn't like this doesn't even go together. Not what I've been taught. Because you get
Right.
the CNN version of like everybody's the
Right.
boogeyman.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to like romanticize this or make one religion out to be better than the other. So it was just it was eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like a relief
Okay.
And then I really began to question even more as to like, well, what does this say about the people who are demonizing these people when they are just as religious, just as committed to their version of this story
Mm-hmm.
as as we are.
Right. Right.
So it was I just have like a deeper appreciation for it. Um when you go through your first Ramadan, it is jarring.
Okay. How so?
You are a person that eats 3 to 4 times a day. You are not eating in public while the sun is up.
Okay.
No water, no food. Out of respect for the people who are following this religion, you do it too, basically.
Oh,
It
okay. Because I was going to ask you,
I
were
was
you
not
doing it?
forced into it. No, no, no. I was
Okay.
not. Let me
Okay.
be very, very clear about that. I was never forced to do anything. I was never forced to cover my head. I was never forced to dress a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I am I'm just very respectful. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
in your space, I'm going to follow whatever it is that you do in your space as to not be offensive and also to learn because I'm so interested in like everything and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, religion, language, culture, whatever it is. I've always been like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, doing that was like, oh, so this is what we're doing. And let me be very clear. I did not participate the entire time. I only did a few days. It takes commitment.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, did you find when you were there a spectrum of people, like some who were extremely committed and those who were just in namesake or name only?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Just as many as you find here.
Right.
Just as many. Um, I think there were more people committed than there weren't. But
Okay.
I also saw as you have, excuse me, just as you have like the Bible beating everything has to do with the Bible. They can quote every scripture, but then they are also drinking, smoking, cursing, doing all the things
Mm-hmm.
still existed there.
Okay. Okay. So, did you ever go to any of the services?
No, no, but I have been to like multiple mosques
Mm-hmm.
because you can like tour the mosque, like especially the National Mosque there, which is just like I have to show you pictures. So beautiful.
Oh wow.
Same as the mosque in Oman. Um, but yeah, they're just beautiful things that you get to experience that
Mm-hmm.
are so different than what we have here. It was
Right.
it's interesting to be in a place where even if you don't follow whatever it is that they follow, they still make space for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like we do that enough in this country.
Right.
So even when we went to Malaysia, Malaysia is prominent predominantly people who follow Islam also.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's interesting to see like being in Asia and seeing like their version of what the international mosque looks like and how they dress and all those different things. But to which we didn't pick like another, like, oh, we're going from one Muslim country to another.
Right.
No, it just randomly happened. So,
That is interesting. And
mhm.
to so then you got a chance to see Islam. And when you look at all these different religions, they're so, I wouldn't say so very different, but yes, they are different from many aspects, right? So
Yeah.
you have the Catholic religion.
Or Mormon. Like where I grew
Mhm.
up, there was a Mormon seminary on my high school campus.
Whoa.
It wasn't forced upon us, but you were aware. You were
Okay.
hyper aware.
And what was going on? Like when you say hyper aware of what?
You're hyper aware of like what's being eaten, what they drink. People don't curse. You know what I'm saying? Like people are a certain way
Mm-hmm.
and they're kind of congregating together and they kind of are into these certain things and these people are into these certain things. So it was always interesting to like I know like trivia level facts about a lot of different things just
Mm.
because I've been thrown into these different scenarios.
Right, right.
So that you just don't expect, I guess.
Right, right. So when you notice, like when you think about the Mormons and you think about Islam and some of these other ones, did you see how they benefited, or
Yeah.
was it like a facade or something?
No. Okay, let me say this. The only time when I've ever really seen a facade is in a non-denominational Christian church
Mm-hmm.
or an evangelical, like really Bible beating church.
Okay.
Never in any like really hard fundamentalist type
Mm-hmm.
religions
Mm-hmm.
have I seen, I'm not going to say never,
Mm-hmm.
but it's never been really that blatant that
Right.
there's like, you're not who you say you are.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No.
So it was more wholesome, or like maybe wholesome is not the word, but it's like a way of life for them.
Yes, a
Right.
conservative way of life,
Mm-hmm.
a more even okay, so being in the Middle East and paying attention to like it's very inappropriate for you to have on shorts.
Oh.
It's not okay. It's like it's just not a you can do it, but you probably shouldn't have. Because like
What would you notice? Like how, like had you worn shorts and then got the ridicule and then noticed that, okay, I ain't doing that shit no
no.
more.
All right, I'll give you one. My husband and I, we now remember we're 20 to 30 days in on our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, you're all in love and you're just,
Mm-hmm.
even though we've been together 11 years by now,
Mm-hmm.
by then, um, but we were walking down the hallway of a mall and we were holding hands and like people kept kind of like nudging us.
Nudging you?
Yeah.
What?
Or
For what?
you would hear women and they'd be like this. Mm-hmm. People, it's like public displays of affection is not, mm-mm, not back then. Now we're talking 10 years ago. I don't know what it's like now, but yeah,
What? So you can't walk
yeah,
down the mall holding hands?
it just was not appropriate. I mean, you got to remember also we're in like a small town. Like we're in the desert in a small town.
And you're being nudged by people to basically,
Yeah, like
but
don't do that.
did anybody come out and say, don't hold hands?
I
Because
don't
what the
think they
hell?
told. I don't think
You
they
might
told
not have
us.
known to do that.
So
My
so
goodness.
so not only did we get married like 20 days before, but a couple that we met on the bus to the city, um, they started when we started. They got married almost the same day as we did
Mm-hmm.
before moving there as well. So I think they told them not to hold hands, but they never said anything to us. And we were all together, but like we were walking like separately.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like somebody was like, hey, we don't do that.
What does that even mean? So if you hold hands, what does that mean?
I don't, you know what? I don't know. I don't know why it would be offensive or whatever, but I wasn't willing to test it.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody does everything differently.
Mm-hmm.
In
And
America, you could practically like you can take your clothes off and like walk down the middle of the street and nobody would blink in some places. You're just not doing that there,
mm-hmm.
you
That's
know?
wild. That's wild. And and you better, it's almost to say you better know what you're getting into when you come over here.
And you don't. So, okay, they might prepare people a lot better now. But when I tell you we had a crash course in like, this might be the way, this might not be the way, nobody really knows.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I think our third year there. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
our third year there, the new people came and they had like a guide of like what was appropriate and what wasn't appropriate. And we were like, where the hell was this?
Right.
This would have been so helpful.
Right.
Like, like you couldn't tell us not to
Mm-hmm.
do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it was you were going to somebody else's house. You're not gonna kick your shoes off and put your feet on the table.
Right. But
You
you
know what I'm
need to
saying?
know, right. But you need to know the ground rules when you're going to somebody's house. And if they don't
You
tell
do.
you, that's interesting.
But we
And
weren't going
so
to be like put to death over holding hands. It was just like, that's just not appropriate. Like, don't do that. It was very like passive. It was not aggressive. It wasn't,
I'm
nobody
gonna
was
arrest you.
pushing us. Yeah, nobody was going to arrest us. Like,
Mhm.
you know, so it was just little things like that. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, now we
Yeah,
know. Now we
right.
know. So we were like extra hand holdy when we went to like Sri Lanka and Malaysia and to Europe. We were just like kissing in the street because you can't do it. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. Oh
yeah.
wow. Yeah. So you
Out
had to
out
do
of
all
being
that in
respectful though.
indoors. Right. It's like I listen, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get you when we get indoors.
Right. I mean, it's the same as like nobody's out just like publicly drinking. It's not for as
Mm-hmm.
much as they make Dubai into Vegas, it is not.
Mm. Okay.
Can you drink? Yes. You might want to take that to your house. You are
Whoa.
not about to do it just like out here on the street. You might want to do it at a resort where it's
Mm.
like a Hilton or what like it's a
Right.
Western owned. But I mean, like those things exist. It's just in how you are doing it. It's not blatant like it is
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a respectable place.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything I took out of it, it was like it's very conservative and respectful. To
Right.
which when I think of conservative in this country, I don't think of respectful.
Uh which is a difference, right?
It's a big
So
difference.
and when we think about religion being a help or a hindrance, right? It's about, is it hypocritical? And I think
Right.
that's the thing. So when you speak about uh it being a certain way over here in Western, like
Mhm.
conservative, it's conservative and hypocritical. Whereas
Yeah.
over there, if it's conservative, it seems like this is their way of life. Respect us,
Yeah.
respect this. And there could be some hypocritical people over there too, but I think there's
Yes.
a difference in modern day Christianity over here, whereas you got Islam over here, or Mormonism, or
Mhm.
or even Quakers, or
Right.
like if you and I think I'm trying to remember the other name.
Like the
Uh
Mennonites and the
yes.
I can't think of who else. So I'm a big studier of like all these things and it is not a secret that I am very very into like all of the fundy famous people, so the Duggars, the
Mm-hmm.
Bates, the like all of them, and
Mm-hmm.
studying all like not necessarily studying, but watching and looking into and following all of that also. So yeah, seeing like those types of fundamental conservative
Mm-hmm.
turn into hypocritical with
Mm-hmm.
the Josh Duggar trial, with the Bates at January 6th, with like all those different things. It's like, yeah, there's a little bit of hypocritical situations going on. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a blanket thing, but it's like it's enough examples.
Mm-hmm. It's enough examples to turn someone off.
It,
Someone who was
me.
once right, and myself, right? So I grew up Seventh Day Adventist, right?
Okay.
And so I joined the church when I was 15, and it was a blessing.
Okay.
Initially, it was such a blessing because I learned about, as I joined, I learned so much history. And at the same time, I was around 10th grade. So I was taking world history,
Okay.
and how everything lined up. It was almost spot on. And
And
it
was
was,
this something, I'm sorry, was
mhm,
this
go ahead.
something that you wanted to do or your family was doing?
Well, I have an aunt. Well, I had an aunt because she's passed away now, but I was dating a guy who was, I can't remember what religion it was for him. I think like Word of God or something like that.
Okay.
Uh, I think Pentecostal. I think it was like a type of
Yeah.
Pentecostal, but he was so religious,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I didn't know it initially until we started dating. And he was basically saying that I should start to go to church because I wasn't going to church at the time.
Okay.
I was just living my life. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my family, they went to church every now and then. And so when I decided to go, I thought about going to my aunt's church because she was a regular churchgoer.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about Adventism. And so when I started to go, I liked the people that were there. Um, the young people embraced me. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful time, right? And it was a great time to be a part of this particular organization or religion or church or whatever you want to call it, because I feel like it kept me from going a different path.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right.
So the fellowship had like two different meanings, basically. It had two different purposes.
Right. It kept me from just being, I would say, wayward
Hmm.
or being in a wrong crowd or being having low self-esteem or some of those things that happen to teenagers. And so then it carried over to college because then I went to a Seventh-day Adventist college. And I would even say, I mean, it might sound weird, but I feel like I became smarter because
Really?
I studied more. I was I prayed more. I read I really got into the Bible, right? And so it was very helpful. And at the same time, um, the hypocrisy wasn't there. It was there, but it was masked from me. I didn't know what was
Okay.
going on, right?
Okay.
And I think that happens in a lot of churches. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like a mega church perspective. And even in that church, it had a spectrum of ways of being, right? You had some people who didn't wear jewelry. Like I was one of the people who didn't wear jewelry. I became a vegetarian and graduated to becoming a vegan. And then some people still, they ate meat. And some people went to church on a regular basis. Some people did not.
Mhm.
So it's just one of those things where over time, as I got older, my eyes became open to many of the things that happen underhanded, like the money, and a lot of the sexual issues that came through, like the pastor sleeping with the different people in church
Oh
and,
boy.
you know, right. Like, so you heard about it if you heard people, like certain people in your group who might have had that experience. And it could be now with the way time is, like it's getting more corrupt in life.
Hmm.
I think that corruption is coming into church more.
I
And maybe it's
wonder,
always been there.
that's what I was just about to ask. I wonder, has the corruption always been there, but now there's a camera for it? There's
Right.
the internet for it.
Mm-hmm.
People are not afraid to talk anymore
Right.
because the threat of whatever was there before. And it's not necessarily there anymore because people have their own lives
Mm-hmm.
separate from the church.
Right. Right. And then I also think when I think about religion, I think about faith, right?
Hmm.
Because you have some religions where people are true. They're true, their faith is strong and they don't judge you. They're not judging themselves and they're just, they might have some ups and some downs, but that's just how life is for them.
Yeah.
Whereas others, their faith is not there. And then when we talk about the facade is there. So it's like a form of godliness, but not the reality of it.
Yeah, I have to ask this. Do you find, because I find this a lot of times, the people that are hyper religious, hyper Christian, don't have a lot of faith?
Yeah.
I always feel like there are two camps.
Mm-hmm.
There are the people that have the fear of God and the
Mm-hmm.
people that have the love of God.
Mm-hmm.
The people that have the love of God have faith. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, I can do anything. It's a statement in Islam it's inshallah. It's in Arabic, actually. It's not even just in, but it means God willing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say it very passive. Some people say it
Right.
like they mean it. I
Right.
I always say it like I mean it.
Right.
It's just a part of like my language. But I feel like there are people who Yeah, they can quote the Bible. They can tell you that they go to church on Sunday and they go on Wednesday and they stay, extra nights and they do all these things and they're on the deacon board and whatever, but they never truly believe good things can happen for them or that the situation will get better or that the other person, can do whatever. They never have faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And with that being the case, I think that corrupts the religion part of it.
It does. It does.
Right. Right.
I guess to me, it's like, well, if you don't have faith, what are you showing up here for? What are you beating this book for?
Well, and see, that's where you have to save face,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't go, then you don't want to look bad. You don't want anybody to talk about you. And so therein
So what are
lies,
we doing this for?
right. So therein lies the issue of religion per se. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have people who say, well, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. Right.
Yeah.
And there's such you can YouTube the big difference between being spiritual and being religious.
Right.
Right. And I guess if I were to be in one camp or the other, I would consider myself more spiritual than religious. And I would also, which is so interesting, I would still consider myself a Seventh-day Adventist, even though,
Really?
mhm, even though I don't go to church. I feel like church is in my heart now, and so but that's my choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to judge anybody else for what they do or what they don't do,
Right.
and at the same time, someone could say to me who even claims Adventism, although I wear engagement ring, I wear jewelry, I don't eat meat, I'm still a vegetarian. Um, what else? I cuss, I
We
drink,
all know that.
and so that's the thing. And so I realize now that's what keeps me from being religious, because I understand more that I have to be responsible for myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I understand that God is judging me. I'm if other people are judging me, well, God bless you, but I'm not receiving that, right? I
Right.
have to answer for myself. Whereas before I felt like if I did certain things, oh my God, one, I'm going to hell because that's been, said.
Fear of
And
God.
right. Or this is going to happen to you. And I don't believe that. I just don't even believe that anymore.
What was your turning point? Like, okay, you said you started in that church at 15. When did you stop? Like, not necessarily stop, but like, when was your turning point where you were like, I'm not quite sure about this? Like, mine was obviously watching that trailer and collecting the money and everything. That was the moment for me. Did you
Oh,
have that kind of
wow.
moment?
No, because there's a system of things in the Adventist church.
Okay.
Money is collected and it goes different places, right?
Okay.
And so, and they have a system of things which I think is awesome. However, which is interesting, there are uh what is it? We have different like the church is polarized in a sense, like between white and black. we
Okay. Okay.
and so it's mainly Adventist. The churches in the city are more African American, and the ones in the outer skirts, like the suburbs or whatever, are different nationalities and white or whatever. But and I can't remember what it's called right now, it just escapes me. But they in these different, I don't want to call them parishes because they're not. Um, it'll come back to me.
Okay.
But the way they're sectioned off,
Hmm.
there are some white ones, there's some black ones, right? There's Spanish ones, right? And
Okay.
so, and to me, I think, how is it that we're so segregated? And if we're all a part of uh the same religion, so to speak.
And same Bible and everything, right? Same practices in
Oh,
each.
absolutely. All of it. All of it.
Oh wow. Okay. So we're just segregating by color. We're not segregating by anything else. I'm thinking like maybe one group does something a little bit differently. I didn't realize like they're all still doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wowza.
Yeah. And so years and years ago, um, when you had like some of the white churches, they would say certain things like, oh, we're gonna like they would have we're gonna have two different heavens. And I'm like,
Boy,
how
what?
right, right.
Wait a minute.
Hmm.
Wait. This is like announced to everyone?
Well, it's been said, like some pastors, they'll even say it in their sermons, what other some other white church pastors would say, and this is all under like the Seventh Day Adventist umbrella. And I'm thinking, really? How does that even work? And so then racism is in still in the church,
Mm-hmm.
which that in itself was something that was a red flag to me as I got older. Right.
Okay.
And so I think the turning point for me, the beginning turning point for me is when I got divorced.
Okay.
So um when
And
I
was
got
your,
divorced,
I'm sorry, can I ask,
yeah,
was your husband Seventh
he
day
was
Adventist? Like, were
uh-huh.
you still okay? And so you
Mm,
raised your children that way as well?
yes, yes.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it shifted some as we got divorced because as we got divorced and I would be in church, a lot of the friends that I had dispersed because it shifted. So that was rough.
Were they choosing sides or was it more like
You
you were
I don't know
bad
if
because you were getting divorced?
I was bad because I was a single now woman who I guess was available.
Oh, Lord.
So it's like hide your husbands kind of
Oh
thing.
boy.
And
And ladies
so
and gentlemen, if you saw Lori, I would hide my husband too.
oh
So
my. So that was the thing, but it hurt. It hurt really badly
yeah.
because I thought these people were my friends. And I think I was disillusioned too, right? Like I didn't know there was a lot that I didn't know. And
Okay.
so it grew me up, it,
Oh, okay.
the whole thing grew me up. The because you think the church is like the haven,
Yeah.
right? But then you start to find that people are gossiping, people are judging,
Hmm.
um, a lot of the things that you would say is not happening in the church, like adultery, um,
Right.
even divorce, um, molestation,
Hmm.
all manner of things that you would say is not in the church is
Right.
in the church, and that in itself, um, it pushes you in a way that says, "Do you belong here, or do you not?"
Yeah. Okay. Same. That's exactly how I was feeling as well because I was really buying into the community part of church and what the church could do for the community. And I
Mhm.
wasn't looking at, well, there's all these churches in the community, but there's also a whole bunch of boarded up houses.
Mhm.
Or there's all these churches in this community and the pastors are driving really nice cars and people are walking or riding the bus to church.
Mhm. Right.
What are
Right.
we doing with
Right.
this money? What are we doing with this community? How are we
Mhm.
building each other up?
Mhm. Right.
Or are we tearing each other? Are we creating our own blockades
Right.
in a way?
And right, exactly. And I would say too, the teaching young people who like like God being in you too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like being told that God is in heaven, right? Um, where is heaven? It's so much
Don't
like
get me
it's
started because the jury is still out
right,
on a lot of these things
right.
for
And
me.
and so and then we and I will say too, I love the Bible. I will like to say there are some things in the Bible I don't believe that's actually true, but the principle of it, I love principles, right?
Okay.
And I think as a therapist, for me, principles help people be better people. And I think from the premise of the church, I think there's uh, there's a benefit to, especially for a young person, if they're not tainted, to understand principles growing up. Right.
Yeah.
I think as we get older, and I liken church or religion to almost a parent, if you will, a parent raising a child. Right. And so while you're in church as a young person, it's almost kind of keeping you from, getting out
Doing all the
there and
things.
all
Hmm.
manner of things, right? Like drugs and all of that. But then as you get older and you become wiser about certain things, you find that there was almost like a masquerade going on, like the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, honestly, it does feel like that because
So,
so my jury is still out on all parts of religion, including the Bible.
mhm,
Um, I think I watched too much History Channel, too many documentaries, too many things about like religion, basically,
mhm, mhm.
and have traveled too much.
Right.
Even though I don't feel like that's a okay, I'm saying this wrong. I've seen a lot of things that make
Mhm,
me question a lot of things, and when I
mhm.
have these questions, I have not received the answers.
I see.
I've been met with, oh, that's just the devil talking,
Mhm,
or it is just how it is,
mhm.
or I'm questioning things, and I think it's making those people question, and they're not ready to question.
Right. And
So
yes.
yeah, so for me, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, all of it is just like this is the same story.
Mhm,
You took it and made it how you wanted to work it,
mhm,
and you took it and made it how you wanted to work it.
mhm.
But y'all all had the same stories because all the same people were in the same books.
Right.
So make this work together. Stop
You would
fighting.
think. Right.
You would
And
think.
you're right.
So
That's the thing. It's like coming full circle as you start to get older in this thing. If your
mhm,
eyes and ears are open to what's going on, it's like every week you come back to the same situation over and over, some of the same stories, but you wonder how is it that you're not better,
right.
or you're still struggling like good times. you
Scratching
know,
and surviving.
right. Like
Um,
that can be an issue, and I feel like I've become even wiser. That's why I'm saying I still um acknowledge or ascribe to being a Seventh-day Adventist, because there is so much learning that I've obtained, and it's beautiful, right?
mm,
And so then there's the learning, and then there are the people,
right.
right? And so I think in studying you learn so much, and it's being able to apply what you've learned and allow it to become you. If
Yes.
it does not become you, then that's when you run into a lot of issues. It's almost to say you keep running. It's like you're running over and over and you're doing the same old thing, and it's getting you nowhere.
But does that play also to the heart of the lack of faith?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that is the thing,
Hmm.
because you don't apply it to where you ingest it and it becomes you.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're ascribing to being a Christian, so to speak, and you believe in Christ, then you walk like Christ walked. But you have a lot of people who say they're Christians, but they don't even know how Christ walked.
Hmm.
Like they haven't even read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Like that's his that's his life right there, in
Hmm.
all different um, you know, perspectives of Matthew than Mark than Luke, but they're all the same, basically telling you the story of Christ. And a lot of people don't even know that.
Right.
So it
Right.
baffles me how they even say they're Christians and they don't know.
It's 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 that lack of knowledge, but also feeling like they are still better than the next person or want to control the next person in the name of that religion.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I really struggle. So like I'm struggling in terms of like the things that are going on with the government in the
Mm-hmm.
name of like, well, Christian society and
Mm-hmm.
these um all the states in the Bible Belt, and they're being against abortion, and they're being against certain religious liberties, and they're against trans kids playing sports, or just all these things of like inserting themselves really, but hiding behind their religion.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
find that problematic
I think it is
because let people
problematic.
live.
Well, that's the whole point, right? That is that. So it goes. It's so much that I'm trying to contain myself in this space here.
Oh, let it go. Just let it go. It's fine.
Oh my goodness, it hurts is what it does. It breaks
Mhm.
my heart, I wonder how we're gonna make it in the next 10 years.
Oh, I don't see it.
Um, I
I
I
I I have
yeah.
little faith in people.
Mm-hmm.
I have faith in this earth.
Mm-hmm.
I have faith. I have more faith in the weather in Atlanta than I do in people,
Right.
particularly older white men in the government. I have a lot more faith that it would rain on every day for the next 7 days than I
Mm-hmm.
do to believe that they're not going to ruin school even more,
Right.
um, destroy women's health care,
Mm-hmm.
um, make it so that way kids are now going back and taking their own lives because they cannot live them as themselves out loud.
Mm-hmm.
I have little faith. I
Right.
I know that the higher power exists, but I'm just wondering, could they intervene a little bit more before this gets worse?
Well, I believe they are intervening. I believe
Okay.
the higher power is intervening because of what is happening.
Mm,
And I think more things are happening more rapidly so that we won't suffer more because the hearts of people are getting colder, uh, crueler, more evil. They're
mm-hmm.
coming up with ways to be more evil, right? And so if things don't wrap up faster, then the torture, man, like the to think how we would be, it would just be really, it would be horrible. So I
So
think the powers that be are doing some things.
okay, so how do you feel like they are do you feel like they're currently intervening or they're like working up to intervening? Like they're going to let this go a little further?
Um, I think that it's been happening, and I think it's almost like a pot that was a big ass pot full of water that's been on to boil, and it's taken a time for it to boil because it takes time for water
Mm-hmm.
to boil, and now it's getting hotter and hotter,
Yeah.
and it's getting hotter and hotter because we had a president like Trump. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And to think is like wrong is calling right wrong,
Yes.
you know, like that.
Wrong wholeheartedly believes that wrong is absolutely right.
Exactly. And so
It
when you,
is pretty scary out here.
right. And when you get like that, there's a twistedness that's taking place. And if you don't have the faith, right,
Mm-hmm.
you can lose your mind.
Yeah.
And so, again, which goes back to me saying religion has its place. There is a situation where, or spirituality, because some people use it one and the same. I think it's a little bit of a difference between the two,
Yeah.
but if it's helping you, then continue. But if there's an issue and you know within your soul that religion has become an issue for you, own up to it.
Right.
Own that and decide what you can do about it. Otherwise, it's going to take you over because
Yeah.
they're what they call wolves, and or foxes, but wolves in sheep's clothing.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be there in these churches,
Yeah.
and you'll be thinking that you're doing some good and things are good, and meanwhile, it's corruption.
Meanwhile, you've joined a cult before you even
Something.
know it. Yeah, you've blinked and now you're in a cult. But I think also like people, we have to figure out how to not make everything a religion. I was
Mm-hmm.
saying this before about people. take a thing and they just follow it so hard that it is
Mhm.
almost in place of the big three
Mhm.
religions.
Mhm.
Like they worship being a vegan, or
Mhm.
they love college football or professional
Mhm.
football, or
Mhm.
they go to the gym, or they're a Democrat, or they're a Republican, or they're an independent. Like everyone has to know,
Mhm.
and they try to indoctrinate the next person. That's where it's
Mhm.
like, you don't gotta be you don't have to give me the pitch. You don't have to
Right.
sell me on this. You are
Yeah.
not gonna sell me. You're not gonna win me over. I think especially in politics and in schools,
Mhm.
we are coming to a point where it's doing more harm than good to try to
Mhm.
get people on your side,
Right.
especially if your side, you know good and well that your side is not for, it's not helping.
Mhm.
It's not helping that kids won't know actual American history. It's not.
Mhm.
It's never going
Mhm.
to be. It's not helping that kids in certain states won't have actual sex education. It's just not.
Right.
It's not. They don't know anything about their body or how their body works. It's not
Right.
going to help.
Right.
It, it's not going to help if people don't have access to all the different types of family planning, all
Right.
of them.
Right. Well, what do you suggest? Like, what would be a solution for you?
Mind your business training.
Mhm.
I have been advocating for this for years.
Okay.
Mind your damn business. Whatever
Mhm.
goes on at your house is what goes on at your house. It
Mhm.
works for you. You like it. You love it. Keep doing it.
Mhm.
You do not need to go next door and tell your neighbor that they must live exactly the way that you do.
I see.
It's this even goes to the heart of people at work.
Mhm.
Not everybody is your Disneyland. They do not need to smile in your face every day. They do not need to put on for you every day. Today, they might be having a good time and they might be laughing at the coffee machine.
Mhm.
Tomorrow, they might be a little tired because their baby stayed awake, or because they got some tough news from back home,
Right.
or their computer wasn't working this morning, or they got
Right.
into a car accident. Whatever it is not a threat on you
Mhm.
if that person doesn't want to interact with you today.
Right.
If they
Well,
are not jolly today, it's the
mhm.
same to me. Mind your
Right.
business.
Well, and so while I subscribe to that for the most part, what happens, and I'm thinking about public school and things like that. What happens when Johnny is being molested by his uncle? And so
There's a
that's how.
there's a difference.
Okay.
There's a complete difference to me with that.
Okay.
If Johnny if Johnny was receiving a free and appropriate public education, his free and appropriate public education would have made space and time to,
Mhm.
number one, tell Johnny what molestation is,
Mhm.
who he should contact, or that he has trusted advisors, and
Mhm.
that his trusted advisors know good and well that they are mandatory reporters and that they would report it.
I see. And so that goes back to you saying that these things need to stay in schools.
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because and I found this a lot when I was teaching. There are so many parents who are not willing to have conversations with their kids, but they don't want anybody else to have conversations with their kids either.
Mhm.
Well, now your kid grows up and now they are abusive. Now
Exactly.
they are being abused.
Mhm.
Now they are pregnant at 16 because they have no idea how their body works.
Right.
They have an alcohol and drug problem before they graduate high school because no one told them not to do these things.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think absolutely, you as a parent, you don't have time, you are uncomfortable, you are whatever. Leave it to the professionals.
Mhm. Right.
There's a health class on purpose.
And so, but even with the health classes, they send those slips home
Exact. Stop
in.
signing that. Stop making that optional.
Okay.
It's the same as the schools who are making Black History Month optional. Stop it.
Is it then is it pushing? their agenda.
Whose agenda are you pushing? Health?
Right, right.
Health is an agenda now?
I don't know. I'm just
American
asking.
history is an agenda? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it an agenda or is it your discomfort?
I don't know,
I don't
right?
know. I don't know.
So it's a slippery slope um because it's almost taking the parent's choice away to just teach, and because you would think that this is the best thing, and I would agree that I think children need to learn certain things that are not taught at home. But then if we don't send those permission slips, and you know maybe there are lawsuits because I'm not raising my child like this, and what it is I think it's probably manipulation or something like that, because then the child still doesn't get it, what they need to get. Right.
Uneducated people make dumb decisions. That's
You
all
have a
I'm gonna
point.
say. Uneducated people make dumb decisions.
Hmm.
You don't know the history of whatever. Now down the line, you say, do, act a certain way, and now there's repercussions.
Right.
You don't know how your body works. Now
Mhm.
down the line, you say, do, act, and now there's repercussions.
And you're absolutely right.
Because you were
You're
uneducated,
absolutely right.
because somebody was afraid of an agenda.
Hmm.
Like like that logic to me is illogical. I I get it. I don't have any kids. Never will. God
Hmm.
willing, and the creek don't rise, I will never give birth to a child at
Hmm.
all. Don't want to.
Hmm.
But I also don't want kids harmed.
Right. I,
And
I
I
totally understand.
and I
Yeah.
feel like putting kids in a dark room with no directions, no idea of how to put a light together to turn on the light for them is doing them a disservice because they are going to live to be adults who behave the same way.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I don't
You.
want them taking care of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not willing to have someone who didn't have health class all of a
Hmm.
sudden think that they could become a nurse or a doctor.
Right. Well,
No.
and so that's why there's that fine line, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's so interesting on both sides of this thing,
Mm-hmm.
because then when you speak about these politicians who are banning abortions, right, in the name of something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or pushing certain agendas in schools, right? It- you just, it would make sense that somehow parents get educated, but then how do we do that? You know?
I don't know. I've always said I felt like people kind of lose their mind a little bit when they become parents.
Hmm.
Like they were making good decisions, they were doing all these things, they were living in these nice neighborhoods and these houses in the city, and they were taking advantage of the parks, and they were walking and they had a good time and everything was fine. And then they had a kid and they were like, I got to move my black child to the white suburbs so they can now be terrorized at this quote unquote better school.
Hmm.
Situations like that is like, how is the child benefiting from this harm? Because
Right.
it ain't toughening them up.
Right. It's
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 not making
making
them better.
no, it's definitely making them worse. And I see
Right.
that right now firsthand when I see clients, which brings me back to religion, because
Okay.
because you have to ask yourself, is that harming or helping, right?
Right.
Because it is similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar in a lot of ways. When you're taking your children certain places, if you're out of, you want to come out of this area and bring them into this area, you know, how is that going to help them, or how is it going to
Right.
hinder them? Are you looking at this? Are you weighing all these options? Where is your faith,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if the faith is there, then it's like, are we looking to some other situation to save us, you know
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
so
It also, you said something. You said that there was a fine line. I think we've come to a point where it's not a fine line anymore. It's a low brick wall. We can
Mm,
see the other side of it. It's a matter of do you want to go to the other side or not? Um, and I feel like yeah, it's the same thing. Is it helpful or is it harmful? I understand people want to give their children everything they didn't have.
mm-hmm.
But why not be also willing to teach them the things that you didn't know?
Well, that's the point. That's the oxymoron. That's the contradiction in terms, right? Like
Mhm.
to say, how can you teach somebody something you didn't know?
Right. And that you still don't quite know, I feel
Right,
like also
right,
is kind of an option.
right.
It's mm, yeah.
So which therein lies us, right?
Mhm.
To, you know, I would say right now, I don't have all the answers. There's
Me
so
neither.
much I there's so much I want to learn. There's so much I need to learn. And there's so much to unlearn. So
Yeah.
much to unlearn. And so I'm here to put it out here to say, listen, let's read more. Um, let's research some things,
Mhm.
but please let's take our head out of the dirt. Let's come out and wake up. We need to wake up and recognize that there are things happening in this world that are happening all around us, and before we know it, we will be in the pot boiling,
Yeah.
and that is for certainty. So I think it behooves us to be more cognizant of what's happening around us. It really is.
Um I know you don't usually add to it at the end here, but let me add this. If we're going to read more, if we're going to research more, if we are going to listen more, um, it all has to be under DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hmm.
Diversify what you are reading.
Hmm.
Give equal parts to who you are listening to
Hmm.
and include more voices than just those that are in your circle or that look like you.
Right.
Um, especially to the people who are subscribing to one particular set of ideals or religion.
Hmm.
Um, the world is too big. There are too many people. There are too many other things that exist outside of your bubble.
Hmm.
And I think that we would all be better for it if we knew more than, like I said before, the CNN version of
Hmm.
what we've all been spoon fed.
Hmm.
And
And
that goes
so,
for both ends. That goes for both
right,
ends of the pond, for both ends of the world, east and west, north and south. I think that goes for everybody.
exactly. Well, and there it is.
Yeah. All righty. Well, you want to call it?
Yes.
Okay. This was an interesting one. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, God. That's it for this week's show. I'm Lori Scott.
And I'm Sylvia Johnson, and you've been listening to What's Been Better.
A big thank you to Lagan Music Inc. for providing our music. This show is edited and produced by us with a little help from our family and friends. We love you all.
We want to hear what's been better for you this week. So send us a voice message or an email to questions@whatsbeenbetter.com. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at What's Been Better Podcast.
Thanks for listening.